Hi everyone, my name is Marjorie. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm participating in this wonderful challenge called What Month Is It? And it's hosted by Tami from Happiness Created. And go check out the playlist below in my description box so you can see all the other creators and their videos. So for my first DIY, I'm actually going to make a Black History Month wreath. I've got that sign that I got, I think it was off Etsy, and some Chanel stems, and I got a couple of rolls of 21-inch deco mesh that were kind of at the end, so I am going to use those along with a variety of ribbon. And I have that deco mesh, which I'd already was going to use on a different project, but I couldn't remember where I got it from and I liked it, so I wanted to switch it over to this wreath. And I'm showing you the crossbars for each section, and how on the two inner rings I take a Chanel stem and tie there. In the two outer rings I actually tie two Chanel stems in each of the sections. So there's a total of 6 sections in this 14-inch wreath frame from the Dollar Tree. So you'll need a minimum of 18 Chanel stems for the wreath frame alone. So on this crossbar, that's where I'm actually going to attach this deco mesh. So I curl in the edges, and then I walk my fingers together, I just gather the deco mesh together like this. Here I'm just checking to make sure I've got all portions of the deco mesh, and I just zip tie it here. So sometimes you got to be careful, because when it's not, sometimes when you're walking your hands together it doesn't come even, so the middle part might not be in line with the outer parts, and you can actually not get that hold in the zip tie and it come loose. So I started from the zip tie and I measured out 10 inches and attached it to this first Chanel stem. You can start at the bottom or you can start at the top sections. It really doesn't matter. I, for one, like to start at the bottom because it's a lot easier for me to see that way. But this is absolutely up to you. But for this wreath, I'm actually going to use the green and red, so I'm just putting the green on the outer part of the wreath. And I'm showing you here that all I'm going to do is, in that same area that I started, I'm going to tie off the end of this green deco mesh the same way that I started it. So and just make sure that you're clipping off your zip ties, and then I always trim mine when I start and when I stop. Make sure it's as close to the zip tie as I can get it, because I think it makes it look nice. So with the red deco mesh, we're going to have to do the same thing, and as you see, the starting and stopping in one section takes up 2 points on the crossbar. So I just actually go to another crossbar just to the left or right. It really doesn't matter where you start, but I don't start it on the same crossbars as the green. So here I am just attaching it with my zip tie. Sorry, it's a little out of the camera there. Now when you do cut the zip tie off with your cable cutters like I do, make sure the flat side is up against the head of the zip tie where you cut it. That way it'll give you a more smooth and even finish when you cut it, because if you don't, then you'll get the jagged part that sticks up and you can actually hurt yourself. So wouldn't want anybody to hurt themselves on that. So here again, I'm just doing 10-inch poofs along this entire wreath frame, and I'm just going to have 6 of the Chanel stems that I attach the red deco mesh to. So this is actually the first time I have made a Black History Month. I'm making it for a customer, and I've already shown it to her, and she absolutely loves it, and I really truly like how it turned out. So here I'm showing you that I believe these are 30-inch pieces of the deco mesh, and I just cruffled it up. I mean, that's how I did it in the other wreath too. That's why it looked the way it did, because I just undid it just to show you how I did it. It was just the cruffle, not the cruffle method, it was just the ruffle method where you walk your fingers up in the middle. And then I attach one of those to each of the chenille stems, and this is what you get. You still got some of the green and red peeking out, and then I've got these two 2.5-inch ribbons. The red and green striped one I got from Craft Outlet, and the red plaid one I think I got that from Hobby Lobby from the Christmas. So here I added that in there, and I originally just curled down the little chenille stems, but I do go ahead and just cut them all off. So to show you here, I fold it in half, find the midpoint, crinkle it up in the middle, and then curve the ends, and then bend it to where both of the tail ends are pointing towards me. That way I can go ahead and place it into the chenille stems. Now I'm just using 2 ribbons, and I'm just putting the striped one on top of the plaid one. But if you're doing 2 ribbons, you can always alternate how you do them. So you could do one set to where I have like the plaid at the bottom, the next set I could have the plaid at the top, and just alternate it like that, however you want to do it. So I've got a variety of 2-inch ribbon, 2.5-inch ribbon. This was some leftover ribbon from another project that I did, and this was from Craft Outlet. It's so cute. It's got like little snowball embellishments on the end of the ribbon, and it's cute little white polka dots. And I am making the first tail, the tail that is pointing towards me, at 14-inch, and then the tail that's pointing upwards away from me is actually about 8 inches. And I just alternate my ribbons doing that back and forth. Now I do like to add in some, on my bows, additional ribbon that I didn't necessarily use, as long as it's color coded. And I just like to give it a little more flair on the bow, because the bow is, you'll see it more. And it's almost like a focal point, at least for me it is, because I just love big fluffy bows. So I also found this 1.5-inch wired ribbon that I had got from Hobby Lobby, and I thought it was a cute addition. It just adds a tad bit of yellow into this bow, and I didn't want to add too much because there was so much yellow in the ruffles, so that was going to stick out a lot as well. So I thought this was just a nice touch, just to have one ribbon full of yellow. So here I am, I'm just going to go back and do another layer the same way that I had did this one. I like to use a lot of different, I like to layer them multiple times because I like my bows to be really nice and full. And I try to use the remaining portions of ribbons so I don't have any excess ribbon spools laying around with just, you know, small bits of ribbon. But I try not to throw it away if I can help it. So I do want to take the time to say thank you for stopping by, and if you like what you see, please consider subscribing. I would really appreciate your support. If you're a returning subscriber, I want to say thank you so much for supporting me always. I definitely appreciate all the supporters that I can get. Also, I would really love to hear from you guys if you would leave a comment below and tell me your thoughts. So now I am taking the ribbon out of the spool, and you want to make sure when you do this you have a very good grip on your ribbon, because if you don't, it will fall apart really easily. So once I've got my Chanel stem back there, I just tie it on there really tight. It's always a little bit easier for me to hold on to the Chanel stem and actually rotate the bow. So I'm taking this sign, and I've got these little cable tie holders that I love to use on my signs, and I'm taking a little bit of super glue. Well, the lid wouldn't come off, so having a little trouble there, and I finally get some out of there. I put a small amount in the middle of my little cable holder and attach it to my sign. Now these cable holders are sticky, but I like to use the super glue on it because, well, one, a lot of times, especially for the summer and stuff, when it's hot outside, that the super glue, not the super glue, the hot glue can sometimes melt and the sign can fall apart, and the super glue just kind of helps with that. And I do just add a touch of the glue, the hot glue on the edges around, just to make it a little more secure. Now, obviously, if you're doing this for like a cold month or something, you probably could skip the super glue, but I would still suggest that you use the hot glue as well, just for reinforcement. So I'm gonna set that aside, and here is my wreath where I've got all the tails on it, and I do leave a space, as you see, and that's because I'm gonna put my bow there, and instead of adding tails there that's going to get covered up by a bow, I just don't put the tails in there. So you have to dig sometimes to get your Chanel stems in the right place. And so I was fishing through the deco mesh to find out where I could actually attach the bow in the back. That way it's nice and held on pretty good. Now I will say make sure it's tight, but make sure that you don't put it on there too tight, because the tighter it is, the more sunk in the bow will be and it won't look right. And here I'm just fluffing up the bows, kind of separating them, trying to find my tails, and just making these look nice and pretty, trying not to get as many of the loops as in the same spot as the others. And so it takes a little bit of time to do that. And then I'll go back and I'll dovetail the ends of the ribbon, and here is the wreath. I just really enjoyed making this one. I think it came out really nice. Now for my second DIY, this is actually, it's going to be another wreath, yes, but this is actually a mini wreath, and I believe it's on a 10-inch wire frame that I got from Craft Outlet, and I added my own Chanel stems to the base of it. Here I've got this 10-inch deco mesh from Michaels in the After Christmas clearance, and I'm just going to attach it the same way that I did with the other wreath. Now, this is the first time that I'm actually using a wreath frame that is not flat like the ones at the Dollar Tree. You can't, you might, well, you can't really tell, but it kind of in the middle portion of the wreath frame stands up taller than the others. So, and then also because this is a smaller wreath frame, I don't put the chenille stems on there the same way. So for the outer bar, I put one at each of the crossbars and then one in the middle of the sections. And then at the top bar, the most inner bar, I just place one in the middle. So now I did all the poofs, and then I took the remaining deco mesh that was on the spool and I cut them to 13 inches. So this wreath only took one roll of deco mesh, 10-inch deco mesh. And I think it's coming out really nice and beautiful and full. So what this is a wreath for Black Lives Matter. And I'm only gonna do one in this video, but I'm actually making like 4 or 5 of these wreaths to have. I had somebody request them, so. And here I just actually cut the tails to 13 inches. Typically I cut them to 14 inches, but since it's a smaller wreath, I cut it to 13 inches. So I've got this beautiful white 1.5 inch ribbon with the black stitching on the edges and this black with white polka dots and lines on it. Both of those came from Craft Outlet. I don't know if I said, but the mesh came from Michael's from the After Christmas. Sorry if I'm repeating myself. But so then I take, this is a 6.5 inch round. It was a 6-pack from Hobby Lobby. It cost $3.49. And I actually go ahead and give it a coat of paint front and back and on the sides. Now what I did notice is when I painted the front side, while I was letting it dry, it kind of started bending. So if that tells you anything, it's a little bit thin. So then I printed off this Black Lives Matter, and I just used some regular glue stick and I put a lot of it on there and glued it to the sign. And then I'm just taking my little sand block and getting the extra paper off. So then I take this Mod Podge that Plaid had sent me, and I think this is like a heavy coat, I can't remember, or a hard coat Mod Podge, but I used it because I wanted to make sure everything stayed on there nice and well for when whomever uses it, they can hang it outside and everything will be just fine. So then I added a little bit of this little ribbon that I had got from Michael's from After Christmas and this white little bow, and I called it a day. I attached it to the center of the wreath and it is so cute. So this is going to be the final outcome, and I do want to say thank you guys for stopping by. I appreciate it, and I hope you all have a very blessed day.